More medications, less health. Something's broken. Traditional medicine manages symptoms, but true healing addresses root cause. I'm Josh Rimini, pharmacist turned healer. At Beyond the Pills, we merge ancient wisdom with modern day science to inspire you through stories of transformation, practical trainings, and holistic healing. Join me and other practitioners as we guide you towards vibrant health, body, mind, and spirit, and move beyond symptom management into true healing. Welcome to this episode of Beyond the Pills, the show that goes beyond symptom management to explore the root causes of healing, body, mind, and spirit. I'm your host, Josh Rimini, pharmacist turned healer, and today I'm joined by a trailblazer in the evolving world of integrative pharmacy, Beth Shirley. She's not only a pharmacist, but she's a clinical nutritionist. She spent over 40 years at the forefront of pharmacy and nutrition, pioneering what we now know as integrative and functional pharmacy. The crossroads of traditional medicine blended with this targeted nutritional supplementation. Since 2009, she's worked alongside the world-renowned Nitric Oxide researchers. We're going to get into that today, and becoming one of the most trusted voices in that field. She currently serves as the Director of Education and Research at Approved Medical Solutions, and she's the formulator behind a number of cutting-edge supplement innovations, including the first oxalate-free nitrate supplement that optimizes nitric oxide, and the patented product in her Libby line to increase sexual desire and pleasure. Beth joins us today to share that core message that underpins all of her work. Nitric oxide is the foundation of all healing. Without it, the body cannot recover, regenerate, or thrive. We'll also dive in and explore how her work is helping high-performing entrepreneurs, one of my favorite avatars, and companies that future-proof their health and workforce through concierge-level wellness strategies. Welcome to the show, Beth.
Thanks for having me.
I love just reading those bios because it just sets the stage for like an amazing conversation. Like, you're one of my unicorn friends, right? You're a pharmacist turned to clinical nutritionist, turned to wellness and this health, this well care model. So, let's dive in. Let's talk about this, because I think we're at this pivotal moment in not only our lives and our professions, but the world. And we've got these budding pharmacies that are looking to do this stuff, right? We've both been on that stage and talking and teaching those pharmacists how they can be more than pharmacists, hence Beyond the Pills in my way. But yeah, let's get down to your story, your journey. You've had such a long an impactful career in pharmacy. What really inspired you to pivot into the integrative nutrition and diving that into nitric oxide research?
Well, I became a pharmacist because I thought I was going to be able to help people. And after 20 years of seeing them come back sicker and sicker on more and more drugs, in 1997, I became a certified clinical nutritionist. So I became the pharmacist to go to if you wanted to get off the meds or not even go down that road to begin with. And people were hungry for that kind of information. So I started monthly women's health seminars, and I did that for 15 years at People's Pharmacy here in Austin. So
they were my first run when I was getting into clinical nutrition and learning and going through the CCN pathway. It was just, they were they embodied it, because all their pharmacists, you were the genesis in there, right? All their pharmacists were CCNs. It was this beautiful thing happening. We know that that's no longer, but that, it was so cool to hear that origin story, because I had followed them for years, just modeling my own vision around what is possible, And it's then we had our conversation a few weeks ago, and it's oh yeah, you were right there in the genesis of it, the birth of that. That's just so cool, I love full circle conversations.
Yeah.
So you were in it like kind of like right at that beginning with them, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I was the one that put all the vitamins in there. I started like the seminars. I was teaching the practitioners here in Austin how to do bioidentical hormones and helping like some doctors set up their cash only business doing, starting off with the bioidentical hormones. And then they've kind of branched out from there, but they started with the bioidentical hormones.
Yeah, and it's still like, I don't want to call it the trend. It's like where things are keep evolving now, but like you're speaking like the same language that I spoke in my 20 years of this, is like learning to go beyond and like getting people off medications and being the pharmacist that people turns to, reverse and get deprescribe things. That's our mission on Beyond the Pills here, right? And
Right.
so it's fun how these conversations now come full circle, right? Like here we are 20 years later looking at this in these new lights. Um, you've done this for decades and you've changed this in the field of pharmacy. And, I just want to talk about how you kind of move, we'll talk about where you think the profession is going, because I think that's a good piece for our conversation, because we would both share the RPH title. But you've said that nitric oxide is the base for all healing.
Right.
And for those like new to that concept, what is nitric oxide and why is it so foundational?
Well, nitric oxide is a very simple molecule. It's just a nitrogen and oxygen. It's a gas, but it governs circulation and microcirculation. So that means it touches every single physiological process, because you've got to have that microcirculation open in order to deliver oxygen, glucose, and nutrients to the cell, and just as importantly, carry away the cellular debris. So all chronic illness has at its base impaired circulation. So nitric oxide is the base of all healing. Because if you've got impaired circulation, doesn't matter what you're doing, nothing's going to be able to get to where it needs to go.
The word that came to me with that is like movement, right? If things aren't moving in the right places, in the right spaces, you have no, like, it's one of the key foundations of functional medicine is transport, right?
Yeah.
And so that makes total sense, but you got to think about that, right? You got to think about it in that light. Like if you can't move the right things in and move the wrong things out, where are you? You're stuck. You're in the mud, right?
Right. So it touches our cardiovascular system. Learning and memory is nitric oxide mediated. Kidney function, nitric oxide mediated. Look at chronic kidney disease. It's rampant these days. Our eyes, our sight, nitric oxide mediated. Our hormones. You've got to have nitric oxide in the hypothalamus in order to make your gonadotropin releasing hormone, which then goes to the pituitary to make your LH and your FSH, which then goes down to your gonads to make your sex steroids. Our immune system, like nitric oxide is our first defense against pathogens, virus, bacteria, fungi.
What I'm really hearing is if it isn't working, nothing's really working.
Exactly.
I love making, pharmacists have this unique ability to make complex things simple for people. Like that's just one of the things I love. It's like we could go lofty for the practitioners listening, but it's really simple. It's like if things aren't moving, and it's one of those things that needs to happen for other things to need to happen. So we're talking upstream, right? Upstream medicine. But what got you there? Like I love origin stories. Like how in the hell did you get like to the place where you're like, this is who I am and why I do what I do? Because I love how people find like through their synchronicities and through the things. So how did you get so involved in nitric oxide support?
Well, The company Human, Humann, they were one of the first companies to make like a nitrite supplement. Most supplements for nitric oxide before that were just arginine and citrulline, but they were close to my pharmacy. So, as they were trying to put together this formulation, they'd come in and have me like test out products and stuff, and I would help them with the formulation. And so it was with the Neo 40 lozenge that I got involved in nitric oxide in 2009.
So for the listeners that are kind of moving through this, because my mechanism went into my head a little bit, like talk a little bit about citrulline, arginine, because people I think heard of arginine before, like as a supplement for boosting energy and things like that. And then we were talking nitrites, like food based or some based, because that's how we get nitric oxide support, right? We can eat these things, and we'll talk about your formulation because I think it's awesome. But talk people through that, because I think we've talked a little bit about why nitric oxide is so important, and I think we'll touch upon that probably 100 times in this conversation, because it literally, everybody goes like, can I take the supplement for that or for that? And it's like, if we talk about why that is happening, we can move it up, and we can move it up the stream to get it to where we don't have to worry about that if everything falls into place, right? It's like 2 furs and 3 furs. I love those. But what you mentioned those other entities,
Right.
let's talk about that, because I think it's really important for people to discern their own information rather than just listening to people that have done it forever. So arginine, citrulline, like tell me a little bit about why we've used those in the past and why this has evolved into something much smoother and easier.
Well, we've got 2 ways we can make nitric oxide, and one is through the arginine NOS, nitric oxide synthase enzyme, to make nitric oxide, and the other is through the nitrate to nitrite to nitric oxide pathway. As we age, that NOS enzyme does not function very well. In fact, by the time we're 40, it's only functioning about 50%. By the time we're 60, it's only functioning about 15%. And that's a real sensitive enzyme, and so many things interfere with that enzyme. Like the standard American diet, the lack of exercise, drugs, like antibiotics, birth control pills. That's why they don't like women over the age of 35 taking birth control pills, is because of the cardiovascular complications. NSAIDs, your ibuprofen, interferes with that enzyme. SSRI antidepressants interferes with that enzyme. Pollution, glyphosate. Glyphosate is everywhere. EMF, like the radiation we get from our phones, from Wi-Fi, from our computers. It makes that enzyme not functional. Stress is a big one.
Oh yeah,
it's
way big. Like I always talk about stress with people.
Right.
Yeah, you're saying kind of like what you're looking at it is, we know that like we have environmental toxicities. Yes, glyphosate, Roundup, it's in everything here, right? Even if you're clean, it's still in your body. That's why we test for it now. And so, but these factors in a modern day world, plus our modern day lifestyle, right? High stressed, crappy food, not sleeping, all of this affects the NOS system, which affects the one of the pathways that we need to get nitric oxide, which, and then you saying like, and then the raw ingredients of that pathway are these substances we talked about. So if we're deficient in that pathway, why feed the pathway, I guess is what you're saying.
Well, no, that pathway is not functional. So when you're feeding it this arginine,
it's not going to do anything.
Well, it actually could be dangerous because
talk to people about that.
The arginine can go down other pathways, like it can increase ADMA. asymmetric dimethylarginine, which is actually connected to all-cause mortality, can make more ammonia, can make more urea, which is not what we want. But one other thing that interferes with that enzyme too is the spike protein in this post-viral, post-jab world.
Right.
That decimates our ability to make nitric oxide. So that's why it's so critical to support the nitrate to nitrite to nitric oxide pathway. And we can do this.
Say that again. I don't think people really got the gravity of what you just said, because we are in a post-COVID, post-jab world. People are consistently getting more vaccines. I don't want to get into the political aspects of that today, but
physiology.
When people do that, it interferes with, again, the same system.
Right. Decimates our ability to make nitric oxide, and it makes the nitric oxide we do have not bioavailable to do all these other good things that it needs to be doing. That's why we've got the died suddenly, the increase of heart attacks, strokes, and things like that is because
you think it's linked to that pathway alone, or one of the causalities.
Yes.
And so what I think is really important here is we're basically what we're saying is it's I don't want to say this the right way, but it's like crap on top of crap. Like we're literally stacking ourselves in the wrong direction.
Exactly.
And if we feed that system with what some people like the citrulline and the arginines, well, we're feeding the system, and then because let's call it the good pathway is inhibited, or it's non-existent, or it's just severely having trouble with words today, it's severely impacted, but then it can go down the potentially pathogenic ways, which means it's kind of shunting the way it can go. It's like water takes the path of least resistance. So does this stuff. It just doesn't sit there and go away. It has to go somewhere. And so it goes into these other pathways that aren't so good for you. So now let's talk to us about that other pathway. And that's where your aha came from, right?
Mm-hmm. The nitrate to nitrite to nitric oxide pathway. This pathway is not influenced by all of those things we were talking about. So we can consume the nitrate either with vegetables, like beets have high nitrates, spinach has high nitrates, arugula has high nitrates. But the beets and spinach, these also have oxalates. And arugula is high nitrate without the oxalates. But we consume the nitrates, they get absorbed, they circulate around, they get concentrated in the salivary glands. Salivary glands release the nitrate, and we've got good bacteria on our tongue that will reduce that nitrate further to nitrite. And so we've actually have test strips that we can test the nitrite concentration in your saliva, on your tongue. And then we swallow the nitrite. In the acidic environment of the stomach, that nitrite gets converted further to nitric oxide. Here's your protection against E. coli, H. pylori. But most of the nitrite gets absorbed in different tissues in our body, can reduce that nitrite to nitric oxide on an as-needed basis. For example, when you're exercising, your muscles need more circulation. They need more oxygen, glucose, nutrients. So the myoglobin in the muscle can reduce that nitrite to nitric oxide on an as-needed basis if it's got the raw material.
Right. And that's the thing, is you need the gas for the engine to go, right? We can't.
You need the raw material.
Exactly. And that's what I keep telling people about the clinical nutritional aspect of life is, like, you got to have the right ingredients to make the cake. You can't get to the cake without the right ingredients. So, and the clean ingredients, super important, right?
Right.
We'll get into oxalates because it is important. I was at an integrative conference last year that was like a big chunk of the whole conference was on oxalates. And I think it's something that we definitely need to think about. But we decided we were going to do this while we were podcasting. So I'm going to test And I'm going to take the supplement, and then we'll retest and we'll see where the levels are. So you guide me, practitioner.
So take one of the strips, put the little pad on top of your tongue. And we've got,
Doesn't matter if I drank a little coffee.
We're all, at conferences and stuff, everybody's eating and drinking. So it just takes a couple seconds, get it all spit it up. And then let's look at your color.
I don't have to fold it or anything?
Nah. Okay, let's see what you got.
Not pink.
And I did mine. See mine?
Yeah, see the difference?
Yeah. So you take a couple capsules, and then about an hour and a half later, you retest. And you can see your body's ability to take that nitrate and make nitrite. So anything that you're doing that may be interfering with the good bacteria on your tongue can interfere with that pathway. Like mouthwash.
And what's really good about the treat test protocol, it's in real time. You can see results, which means people see what's happening, and you can show them through a lab. And it's like a super easy lab. Like these are just tiny test strips.
Right.
And so I've used them all the time because it's like, okay, let me show you. And it's like, oh, I have no nitric oxide. Take these strips home, take 2 capsules, an hour and a half later, hour later, show
test.
And then it's that visual people need to see, rather than, this is so critical why I think labs are important. They're not necessary all the time, but they're important, right? The importance is we see it, which then it becomes personal to us, right? If I test someone's cortisol and it's off the roof, they're gonna validate with me that like they are stressed out. But instead of just saying I'm stressed out, give me a supplement, it's like, let's target that. Let's retest you and see how like what you track and measure improves, right? And so whether we're using a wearable or a simple, non-invasive, immediate test becomes proof to why somebody takes it, which means they're also going to continue to take it.
Right.
Because they see it doing it. So that's why I really love nitric oxide support, because you can see it in real time and you can see the results.
How often do we take something and we don't know
exactly
doing anything?
Right, exactly.
And this way you can actually see, okay, this is actually doing something. And most people feel like something like their brain feels better because you're improving the circulation in your brain. So they feel sharper, clearer.
Well, let's put on the CCN hat, the clinical nutritionist in you, because when we talk clinical nutrition, especially in pharmacy world, it's really the science of the supplements. It's the science of the nutritional products that we're recommending. Yes, you can get this from diet, and I do want to talk about oxalates and how bad they are for us, for most people. But when we talk about the pathways of nitric oxide, let's talk about what happens downstream now, because I think that's where where the rubber hits the road for men, for women. It's like, oh, it improves cardiovascular health because we're helping with blood pressure, or, those kind of things, because that's where people want. They want the outcome side of it. So talk to people, because your experience in this forefront for so many years. Let's just talk about where you see it clinically, in practice, and also mechanistically, because this is where people will actually get to doing something. And I love this podcast for the reason that we always want to give somebody something to do. And this is an easy one, but I want to make sure, hey, what's in it for me is the question, right?
Well, a better sex life, because we all know about the little blue pill,
which supports nitric oxide, correct?
But it only allows nitric oxide to hang around longer. It doesn't do anything to help improve the nitric oxide
level. Right. So improve the level and then get it there longer.
Right. That's why they don't work in about 50% of the people, is because they don't have enough nitric oxide on board to begin with. But us women need the nitric oxide too, in order to be able to feel, to be able to respond. And lubrication is nitric oxide mediated. So as women, if we can't feel anything and we're not responding and we're not lubricating, do you think we even think about sex much?
Right.
Probably not. So this will also help bring down fasting blood glucose. So the cell has a receptor called GLUT4, and it needs nitric oxide attached to it in order to translocate and bring glucose into the cell. So with diabetes and insulin resistance, it's cardiovascular complications that get people. This is the nitric oxide piece to it.
What else? Tell me. We got to know. So,
Okay. Well,
we are launching our men's vitality program, right? So, when we look at the pillars of men's health, one of them is sexual health. Another one is testosterone, right? Vibrancy, because it's vibrant health. And if they're having ED or sexual dysfunction, well, now we get root caused and upstream by supporting nitric oxide. We're also supporting cardiovascular health, right?
Right.
And we're improving the pathways. We're not just manipulating them.
Right.
And so this, to me, this is like like it's going in the program because you can't not have it, right? It's like these are the pieces of the things we want everyone to do, right? Kind of feeling. Not like, everyone should have an omega-3 status checked and doing, like, there's certain things we need to do. And this is kind of feels like that's one of them, right? Especially as we're relating it to specific health reasons. What else? What else is it?
Well, ED is usually one of the first signs of cardiovascular disease.
Or dysfunction in dysregulation of blood sugar.
Yeah. Endothelial dysfunction is ED. ED is ED. So we've got to put that nitric oxide back to that. And I said, like, for healing, you need, like, cells can't be more than 2 cells away from a functioning microcapillary. So even when you get cuts and stuff, those microcapillaries have to be open in order to heal. Stem cells are how we heal. So they require nitric oxide in order to go where they need to go and do what they need to do. The hemoglobin can even release oxygen to the cells without nitric oxide attached to a cysteine molecule on the hemoglobin. So you could be super saturated with oxygen, but if you're nitric oxide deficient, you're not being able to utilize that oxygen. So even by using this, increasing your nitrate, this will allow you to even go up to high altitudes and utilize that oxygen better.
So you could use it for, let's say someone like me goes to Peru.
Yep.
Would we be using more of the supplement?
I would. Yeah, I definitely would. Yeah.
And now had I thought of that, or had I had you in my back corner when I went to Peru, it might be a little different, but I didn't get sick. I was really, really happy with where I was, but altitude is a big deal, right? And so it's like, how do we do those things? I love that one. That one's going to be one of my favorites. So
exercise. You do a couple capsules an hour prior to exercise, you'll be able to exercise harder and longer, and your recovery will be quicker. Because once again, you're increasing the oxygen, glucose, and nutrients to those cells that need it. And you're clearing away the debris. So you're recovering quicker.
So like a guy, right? They want to maximize we do the same thing with our nanotestosterone. It's like, if you want an extra boost before you go in, 20 minutes before you exercise, do an extra dose, because we can microdose these things now. But like, this is a 2 capsule a day formula, right?
Right.
Now, if somebody were to want to maximize recovery, is there a steady state where like if they're taking it twice daily, it's no big deal? Or do we
It's
want to time it to maximize certain activities?
You can time it to maximize certain activities. Like if we're working with sexual dysfunction, you can take 2 capsules in the morning and another 2 capsules an hour prior to activity.
Got it. So you're boosting it in certain ways.
Right.
So
So
maintenance dose and then like an acute type like dose, titrated up.
right. Or if you're getting off of blood pressure pills or something, you may need 2 capsules twice a day. Or if you have an infection, you're trying to do specific things, I would add another 2 capsules or add some high nitrate veggies at lunch or dinner time.
How
And
much though? I think when people say that and it's like, oh, I eat broccoli, but then I eat like three crowns of broccoli, and I think it's going to help my estrogen balance, right? How much does someone need to eat in order to get optimal?
So 2 capsules of my nitric oxide product has about the same amount of nitrates as 5 ounces of spinach or 7 ounces of beets. And that's pretty much, those tubs of spinach, not the big one, but the smaller one, but that's 5 ounces. So it's a good chunk. Plus you're getting the oxalates with those too.
Let's jump in there because
Okay.
I think you got to eat enough of it, right? And it's like,
Yeah, you do.
You don't need to eat pounds, but we need to eat enough. But now we're also talking daily because we're moving it through. So this is kind of like my omega-3 rants that I go on. Is like, if you're not consistent, it's not like, oh, I eat salmon once a month and I'm good. It's like, no, you got to eat beets and spinach and arugula at pretty high doses, if you will, in order to get what you need, which is why I say with supplements in this nature is like, if you can't eat it, you have to supplement with it.
Yes.
And you can make a combination of the two.
You can.
Right.
And you can use the strips to make sure that you're optimizing it too. So you can test to see whether you're actually eating enough.
And it does say on these strips, it gets it's just like, I was thinking like, color by numbers, right? It's like the number that's like the colors are, if you're high pink, you're in the good zone.
Yep.
I was in the low depleted zone because I hadn't taken my supplements today.
Most people are.
I wanted to see it, but and actually it was funny. No, I did take, I may have actually taken one of the citrulline things that I had in my cabinet. Like, I don't remember if I took it today or not, but like, I'm actually going to do some cool thing. Like, can you do that too with the strips? Like, if do you take like, oh, I'm already doing, we won't name other people, but like they've got all their products. You can see it's like L-citrulline. Now, if they're taking that and they test and it's not high, that their pathways are compromised. Is that right?
Right. Well, most of the tests showing arginine or citrulline increases nitric oxide were done on young male fit athletes, like males 18 to 21.
But that's everybody in this country, right? It's just like pharma. Let's just do it with 40-year-old men and see what happens, right?
Exactly.
Let's stack our data by getting the most fit, like highest level, optimized humans on the planet, and then use our baseline for that. I just think it's fun.
Yeah. So oxalates.
Yeah, let's talk oxalates because it's something that's not new, but it can severely impact people's health, and they don't realize that.
There are these little sharp crystals, and they, like, when anybody's got any kind of leaky gut or any vitamin B6 deficiency, which a lot of people do, they're not able to like eliminate the oxalates in foods. So they're absorbing too much. And these oxalates, these sharp crystals, kind of get stuck places. Like if they get stuck in the kidneys, they increase in kidney stones.
Yep.
They get stuck in the joints, there's space in the joints. Then they get arthritis. So most people with any kind of chronic issue probably shouldn't be increasing their oxalate intake. So I formulated this nitric oxide product with arugula instead of beets or spinach. Arugula is a high nitrate veggie without the oxalates. And we've had this product tested, and there are 0 oxalates in this product. So we won't be increasing any kind of health issues that can be that can happen with oxalates. No kidney stones, no increase of joint issues.
I think it's one of those hidden, like, it's one of those like stealthy things that people don't realize, but because here's the ticker, and this is why it's so important, is like a lot of the healthy foods you think you eat have lots of nitrates or have lots of oxalates in them, like sweet potatoes, right? All these, so give people, you can Google it, you can do AI, but tell people like almonds, like my whole list of great foods is in there.
Yeah.
And it's like, but you go, I eat really healthy. And then it's like, but I have all this pain. You can even get oxalate crystals coming out of your tear.
Exactly.
Right. Literally, like when your tears look like they got little, my family calls them cheapas, but like, it's like right in there. And it's like, and the amount of dysfunction, especially from pain and inflammation that can happen, and then in kidney stones. And so it's in lots of foods. And I've put people on oxalate-free diets, and I watch some magic happen. When we get stuck in these realms, we go, how are you eating? Like, what are you eating? It's like the list would really look healthy.
Oh, I'm making a big green smoothie every morning. You know,
got every single one of them in there. Yeah. So here's one of my like thought-provoking questions. When people are using like spinach or beetroot extracts and things like that in their products, can they extract the oxalates out of it, or they don't?
Well, if you ferment them, it decreases the oxalates a lot. However,
it doesn't kill it.
It's not 0. Yeah.
And that's kind of what the genesis of your product was, right. Why it's so important.
0.
Why it's different.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Ours is 0 oxalates.
I love that.
And we've also got a couple other ingredients in this to help support the NOS enzyme. So I'm working on both pathways. So the NOS enzyme is a dimer. So it's two molecules of the same thing held together by BH4, which is tetrahydrobiopterin. So when somebody's under a lot of oxidative stress, when they've got a chronic issue, it uncouples that NOS enzyme. So it can't make nitric oxide. But unfortunately, when that NOS enzyme is uncoupled, it becomes a superoxide generator, not a nitric oxide producer. So it can actually increase the oxidative stress, increase those free radicals. But I've got some 5-methyltetrahydrofolate, some activated folate, some activated methylcobalamin, B12. These help make that tetrahydrobiopterin to keep the NOS coupled. So we're working on both pathways.
And you're doing it in sort of the
base way.
Allow the body to do what it's supposed to do.
Right.
And feeding the other system that's not counterproductive to that. So it's kind of like you're moving both ways. Now, when can people, like, if someone were to like, all right, I know it's like in everything for everybody, but like, what are some signs that you think people would know that besides testing, that they're deficient? that they're not getting enough nutritionally, or their bodies aren't working the way they should.
High blood pressure, high blood glucose, diabetes, insulin resistance. We talked about ED and sexual dysfunction, any kind of kidney issue, because you're not getting the circulation in the kidneys. Maybe you're not healing as well as you should be. Maybe you're not thinking like you should. Like depression, anxiety, sleep is nitric oxide mediated, our circadian rhythm. REM sleep, nitric oxide mediated. So even by optimizing your nitric oxide, you're going to sleep better. And when you sleep better, everything goes better.
That's right. It's the number one longevity supplement in the world, sleep. I tell people that all the time. It's like, you can't get any better than nailing your sleep. And here's another pathway, right? Instead of like taking all these other things, I don't know about you, but as I've learned more and more and more, I keep going back to simple.
Right.
I keep getting back to really getting basis things done first before I go complex. It's like the 80-20 rule that works magically. And so here's another example of why we should put this at the forefront of foundational support versus like, oh, by the end of this, I'm figuring it out,
It should be at the base. Nitric oxide should be at the base of everything you do. It probably won't be the only thing you do, but if you've got impaired circulation and microcirculation, it doesn't really matter what else you're doing because it's just not going to get to where it needs to go. So even by optimizing your nitric oxide, you might not need all these other things in the dosage that you're taking them. You might be able to cut down on some of the dosage because it's allowing things to get there.
Well, that's the proof in the pudding, right? When we empower people to do these things, and then lo and behold, it's like now we can open those conversations of like de-escalating their medications, getting off medications. Like how important is that for people? Like you and I have been in this field for so long because people can get medicine taken away. And when in this Westworld philosophy we have, it's let's put on more and not think about taking them away. If we're improving the pathways, then we don't need to mess with the symptoms as much.
Well, anytime you've got 2 or more drugs that you're taking, you're a walking experiment. They haven't done these tests on more than one drug at a time. So you're on a drug and then you're having adverse effects. They put you on another one and more adverse effects. And it's just like a never ending bad cycle.
I hardly watch TV anymore. And one of those reasons is just doesn't, like there's so many drug commercials out. I literally saw a drug commercial this past couple weeks. It was just in passing. I was like, really? It's a drug that treats a drug side effect.
Exactly.
Like literally they're marketing it. Hey, you might be on this drug and you have all these crazy side effects. So we're going to give you this drug to counteract those side effects. It was like we've said this for so long now, Beth, but pharma's literally creating syndromes on top of syndromes that says, take this drug because this drug is causing so many problems for you. Then now they're marketing it with an FDA approval.
I do.
But
the adverse reactions of that drug is actually the same syndrome you're treating.
Exactly. Which is where, oh my gosh, let's talk about drug nutrient depletion just a little bit because we've been screaming this for years and years and years. It is a side effect of a medication to be depleted in nutrients. We know that almost half the drugs or more deplete the body of essential nutrients. But as pharmacists, we're legally obligated to speak to people about the side effects of drugs. It's kind of in our ethos of who we are. But we're not still talking about nutrient deficiencies from drugs. It's like there's a disconnect, even though we've been screaming it for so long as what we do. But I do want to open this up because people are listening. Like, there's a big deal to take your drugs you're on and then apply the deficiency, because it's robbing you. Remember, drug muggers was one of the books, right? Is like, it's robbing you of those nutrients. And it's not just like I need it because I need good foundational health. It's like I'm behind the game, and it's rampant. It's all over drugs, right? And so that's a really big piece that I think people don't, because it's not sexy, right? It's not this sexy thing like I can treat my ED or my energy or my foggy brain. It's like I take a drug. It's not really a side effect. It's an effect.
It's
And I
yeah,
think that's
I
what
don't call 'em side effects. They're a known effect of this drug.
well, which is another, pharma's got its place, right? But like, listen, we call it a side effect so we can diminish the effect of the bad stuff these drugs take. It's like, treat this drug, but the side effect of the drug that we're telling you about is actually indicated on this drug that we're teaching you. It's like, oh, that could cause cancer, but here's a cancer drug. It's
Yeah.
like,
How about birth control pills and SSRIs? They go hand in hand. But those birth control pills are depleting your vitamin B6,
right?
your magnesium. So you're not being able to make those neurotransmitters. So, I started a drug nutrient depletion in my pharmacy back in 2002. So all classes of drugs had little pieces of paper that I would have stapled to the bag to get that conversation started. So at least we wouldn't put you down that road to where you're doing drug after drug after drug.
Well, and it's so crucial, and it's something we can empower people to think about now and have those conversations, because it's like, oh, I take these meds. What are the things that might be depleted, and also what are the clinical aspects of these nutraceuticals and supplementation? Where, hey, I have blood pressure. Well, what's the synergy? What can I be doing? Right? Can I be supporting nitric oxide? Can I be supporting these things? Rather than going straight out to the GLP-1s or whatever that thing is, it's like, how do we support the body so we don't have to take the medicine? It's like it's a very not new philosophy, but it's really one that I think people are starting to open up with. It's like, oh, it's more where I want to be. It's more of the root cause of what's going on. Oh, that makes sense.
Let's support the physiology instead of doing something anti this, anti that, where you're stopping processes in the body. Our body really doesn't like that,
Well, it wants to do what it's supposed to do,
Yeah.
right? Our body has this beautiful, innate, loving intelligence. Our cells we don't command our cells to do what they do. They want to do what they want to do.
Right.
We just got to get out of the freaking way. But we're eating ourselves to death with the foods we put in our bodies. 70% of children in the United States, their food is ultra processed. 70% of their food, which means it's like eating plastic instead of like food from the ground.
For real, though.
For real. Like, microplastics is in our sperm right now. It's going straight into the DNA. So we've got work to do in this highly toxic environment. Like, I'm sitting on a PEMF mat. I'm doing the things we need to do so we can help ourselves, right? And this has all been awesome, but I do want to take a little time, because you and I share a lot of common threads, but one of them is working with high performance people in entrepreneurial space and C-suites and people that are 7+ figure entrepreneurs, because in my way, if I can help them, there's this ripple effect. And so talk to us a little bit about what you're doing with companies in the wellness field, because this is a shared passion for me as well.
Right. Well, to be effective, you need to feel good. When you don't feel good, that is a ripple effect too. I mean, everybody around you feels that. When you feel good, everybody wants to know, well, what are you doing?
Right.
What are you doing? I want some of that. So by helping people feel the best they can feel, You're touching so many lives. That's one of the reasons I started those women's health seminars monthly, because, the women there, they kind of govern their families. You get them feeling better and the whole family benefits. You get the person at the head of the company feel better. The whole company benefits. It's important.
Yeah, I think in that I've been an entrepreneur for 20 years, and it's who I am. It's my blood. And we always say your avatar is like the 5 year ago self, right? And so it's like building that is very important to me too. And like for me, it's like I'm rooted in men's work. I'm rooting in men's vitality. And so I'm like, well, why can't I just help more of those people? And in building these programs, not just because I deal with men only, I can help women, but I can empathize with their bodies, body, mind, spirit, family, business, inside. Like you said, if you don't, it's wellness from the inside out. And I think that's where people are starting to work on, especially as we get into this second season or mountain of our lives in these 40s and 50s, where we start to realize, hey, that outside stuff doesn't really work for me. It doesn't make me feel happy. Like we go into this space of, midlife crisis when you buy a car and it feels good for a little while, but then you're like, it's like, no, we got to go from the inside out.
Exactly.
And that's kind of what you said. They feel good, but it's like, really, if you're happy and you're joyous and you have this energy about you, well, people do. They want that. And then that automatically ripples down, right? And moving it into their companies, into their businesses, into the people around them. And so you work with people like that and you get them feeling well and you optimize their health, right? That's, and it starts with you, right? The person.
Exactly.
I love that. I love that. Well, where can people go to find this?
Well, they can go to your store and you'll have a code.
We have a code, and we'll make sure that people can link to that code, so we can make sure they're getting it. Because I love how you do that, because you want to track where it's coming from, so we can continue these conversations, right? And so we'll supply the code to get people interested in using the product. Obviously, you can come to our store if you live in Charlotte. I love that you're able to like create that for people and really test and see where things are,
Yeah. And I'm on LinkedIn by Beth Shirley, RPHCCN. And just every single week, I will take a recent study and I will show you the nitric oxide connection. So I do that pretty much every single week. So I'm posting these.
Well, which is really important, because everything we do in healthcare, well care, this is why clinical nutrition is backed by science, right?
Right.
Functional medicines got backed by science. Like, I love when we not just say these things, we actually back it up with the things of peer-reviewed, supported literature, things of that nature. I love your cats in there. It's things like life, right? My dog back here half the time.
Yeah, he thinks when I'm on the computer like this, it's his time.
Of course, right?
Yeah,
Why not?
audience. Yeah.
I know it hasn't been an hour, but I want to test myself and just see where we're at.
That's good. You just get it. Make sure it's all spitted up.
Oh, I had the thing on the wrong side of my tongue.
Yeah, it would help. Get the pad on there. Look at that.
Beet red.
Look at that.
Look at this, guys.
It hasn't even been an hour.
Even if you can't see it, but you can
see it.
Look how different that is.
Yeah.
It's not pseudoscience. This is real stuff. And it's like right there, it's like, oh, personal, like, hey, in the world of in the world of instant gratification, at least we could do this.
Exactly. Exactly. That's
Um,
pretty cool. Pretty
so
cool.
that's and it's like it's real time. That was unscripted. We didn't like do anything. But Beth, this has been awesome. I always love to kind of tailor these and we're definitely got to talk more about women's health and women's vitality next. But this one's kind of like rooted around what we're doing together for men and things of that. So I can't wait to get you back on again. But I always try to end with this question, and it's impromptu, is like, what's the one thing you want people to know coming out of this conversation?
That nitric oxide is a base of all healing. You must optimize that it won't be the only thing you're doing, but it needs to be the base of everything you do.
And this whole conversations that we have here are all about true healing. We're not about symptom management here.
No, not at all.
Here's another reason why we can align these things to build the foundational support for healing and transformation. So thank you for that. That's beautiful. Go check her out on LinkedIn. We're going to supply the codes for you guys so you can get the supplements. And I'm super excited to continue to work with you on this path. My unicorn pharmacist, wellness person, friend. Thank you so much for just showing up, being true to your passion, right? It's so clear. Like this is where you go. Like this is exact. And so it's fun having these conversations with people that have just put all their lives and energy into certain things in life. So thank you so much for what you're doing. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that's a wrap. Until next time, stay well. Thanks for joining me today on Beyond the Pills. If our mission to de-prescribe 10 million unnecessary medications resonates with you, share this episode, subscribe, and leave a review. Whether you're a practitioner or someone ready to reclaim your health, visit rx2wellness.com for free resources to begin your journey. Together, let's go beyond the pills and co-create a world of vibrant health and true healing. Until next time, live better and stay well.